And welcome to episode number 7 of the Final Whistle. I am Kyle, and I believe under that bag it is Mark. And Mark, without further ado, go right ahead. And how are you doing? Why is the bag over your head? And yeah, here we go.
Man, I'm pretty depressed here, man. The Browns kind of ruined my weekend. Uh, you know, but at least football's back. I brought it old school with the bag head there because
Yeah,
that's how the Browns make us feel every single weekend.
yeah. This another disappointing loss from the Browns as they lose 41-17. We'll get into that in a little bit. But what a weekend of football in general overall. As we have Monday Night Football playing again off in the distance, doubleheader this week. But it was what a weekend, and we know we got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna jump right into it with college football wrap up of week 3, and let's talk. We're gonna talk real quick through this game because there wasn't much. Michigan defeats Central Michigan 63-3, and it really just really much of a contest as Michigan rolled. They got well, we not don't know if they got better, Mark, but next week we'll tell a test when they head on to Lincoln in a showdown with Nebraska.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. They handled business. Underwood looked pretty good. They made quick and easy work out of Central, and they move on. I mean, I expected as much. Obviously, it's a get right game for them in their offense, and
Yeah.
like I said, they handled what they had to handle, and they did what they were supposed to do. So here we go, and we're off to next week, where we do have a bit more of a test. Nebraska's not a bad team,
No.
and they can sneak up on you if you're not careful.
Yeah, Nebraska, they're looking to get back into the CFP talk. They're not ranked yet. Michigan's ranked number 21 coming into this game. It'll be very interesting how these teams. We'll talk about the game as we get closer. But Michigan, like you said, did what they had to do. It's hard to tell if they actually learned anything because it's Central. And Central just they were there for the money. You get paid $1 million to go to the big house, get your butt whooped, and here you are. So get whooped by 60 points without Sharon Moore. You didn't need Sharon Moore this week, but we'll see as we get going. And with that. And we weren't going to talk about this game, but Mark insisted we did as Ohio State defeated Ohio by a score of 37-9. And I know I know some Ohio State people are kind of conflicted on this as I know Mark is a little more, he was at the game. So Mark, tell us about your experience about the game, but also let's hear your thoughts. I know you were adamant about talking about it, so fire away.
Yeah, I had some problems with the offense. Obviously, Ohio, the Bobcats, they've shown that they're not just a pushover team, and I know we spoke about it a bit during the game and in the game last week. I could honestly see them pulling pretty far, if not winning the MAC, or at least ending up in the
Yeah,
MAC
they're a
championship.
contender for
Um,
sure.
like they looked really good. I mean, they were kind of stagnant on offense, but their defense played exceptionally well. Outside of some big bombs in the second half. But what I really wanted to talk about was two big things that I noticed from Ohio State. One, obviously, Julian Sand is a former five-star recruit, but it appears to me, and I can't tell if it's quite the play calling and how they are handling him, or if it's just the way he is. But it really seems like he's a 1 to 2 read quarterback max. He has one read, maybe a high low, and that's pretty much it. And if it's not there, he's kind of stuck, and he's either forcing it or he just makes bad decisions. And it was really apparent. Like I said, Ohio does have that stubborn defense for the most part. I'd say for the first probably 2.5 quarters, they kept everything in front of them pretty well. So that was pretty surprising, and I think a bode to the MAC schools and Ohio in specific. But the second thing I wanted to talk about, and it's something that I know is getting a lot of traction now, but I think it is about time that we just rip the band-aid off and we just start running the ball more and putting Bo Jackson, the freshman from
Yeah.
VASJ, in the backfield. He's clearly the best runner.
That's
He's the most
that's a
explosive
school in
runner. I
Cleveland for some of you out of towners that are watching. The school in
Yeah,
Cleveland. But continue. Just want to throw that in
yeah,
there.
he's a local kid, true freshman, but clearly the most explosive and most electric runner that we have. He looks way better than Peoples. He looks better than Donaldson, and I know Donaldson has been mostly a goal line type of back here, but I think it's time to rip the band-aid off and quit messing around. He's got back-to-back 100-yard games. He broke a long one, a pretty long one. I think it was like a 40 or 50 yarder in that second half, and he looks like the more explosive guy. It's clear that it actually
Yeah,
reminds me of Saban's story with Derrick Henry. He goes to a school that obviously, for those of you that know Cleveland, VASJ isn't the biggest school. They just hand him the ball and tell him to go score touchdowns. That's what he did. So obviously he's lacking in pass pro, but that's something that he can learn. And I think it's just time to put the best horses out there and let them run. And like I said, I'm not sure if it's a play calling or not, but I think it's time to either let Sayin loose and see what he really has, or move on, because this 1-2 read stuff, it's going to get you in trouble when you start playing conference play and better competition.
yeah, and as you said, I was thinking about is Ohio's going to compete for the MAC. They're competing with Bowling Green, Toledo. They're going to be there at the end. Don't be surprised if they're in the MAC championship come first Saturday in December, I believe. And you know the red zone struggles were there. They were there. They were potent for Ohio State. Sayin missed that guy, the running back. I don't know if it's people. I don't think it was Jackson that time. It was
It was Donaldson, I believe.
Donaldson in the flat the first possession, and that's what came away with no points. So it could have another extra 7 on the board, but they're lucky it was just Ohio because when you go face Penn State coming up, Illinois ain't going to take it easy. Illinois, one of those teams are going to capitalize, and you're going to be playing from behind at some point. And you're also lucky that Ohio couldn't move the ball; they couldn't throw. First, they just couldn't
Yeah.
throw their best, or all they threw, but they couldn't get the ball past like 4 or 5 yards because it was always short passes. The running back was a little
Although
slower.
they did have that one bomb, which Lorenzo Styles. I hope you watch that play 100 million times, because I wanted you off the field and to never sniff the field again.
Yeah, as the first possession of the second half was a slant, and he was off to the house, and that's what started scaring people. And people, Ohio State people could say, and this is not me being or biased, it's just me thinking like, oh, you weren't scared. There's no way you guys were like freaking out, like, oh boy, here we go. Is this going to be a game where we got to compete? And maybe it's just because they played Grambling the week before, and they had to get up for this game, and Grambling was Grambling. It was like the thing of Michigan, Central Michigan. It's just so those are going to come back to haunt you. Defense kept them in the game again. It could have been. They could have easily. If Ohio State doesn't have that defense, are we looking at a different story? Maybe are we looking at a potential upset? And give credit to Ohio. They battled for 2.5 quarters, and the wheels just fell off. But it's gonna be interesting, Mark, because they come out of this bye at Washington, and that's not easy play, especially going out west, changing time zones right off the bye.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree, and I think again, you're just putting a lot of pressure on a defense that, I mean, so far this season they're proven, but there is still young guys out there. There is still first year guys, like Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles. That linebacker room looks absolutely insane. The DB room outside of one play looks insane. And you've got depth there, but I mean, once you start playing competition, some things get tighter, and you really need to rely on a high powered offense. And it even like, I mean, a receiver like Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate can only do so much when your quarterback isn't playing well, and you
Yeah.
can't have any hiccups as an Ohio State Buckeye quarterback, and expect to win some close games. I know our defense is good, but it needs to shape up, and it needs to shape up fast. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's a play calling or not, but one way or the other, it needs to get fixed ASAP.
Yeah, and you were talking about Styles' brother who plays. He was a corner. He was getting burnt the whole game. Number 3 for Ohio State. He was getting burnt. And when you get a better receiver from Penn State or Illinois or even Michigan, he gets burnt in a game that a rivalry game, a conference game. That's going to come back to bite him at some point too. So they
I
got to
mean,
two.
or just a close game in general.
Yeah, because they're gonna. I mean, they got to figure it out, and they will. Ryan Day is a good coach. Their coach staff's a good coach. They got a week. Washington's not gonna be easy though. They got to. We'll talk about that next week as we get closer. But Washington's primed for an upset. Jedfish wants that big win at Washington, so it'll be interesting. 3:30 kickoff. We'll get to that next week when we get closer. Ohio State is on a bye. Michigan goes to Nebraska, as we mentioned. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll talk another quick little kind of blowout before we move on to the better games. South Florida defeat or loses to Miami 49-12, and I don't know if the Cinderella story is over, but USF's got some work to do if they want to. I still think they're kind of in the front running for the group of 5, but it's just Miami was too much, and Miami has shown that they're pretty much the ACC representative right now, the champion to get in after what we saw with Clemson.
Yeah, I agree. USF again. I'm going to go back to what I said last week. They put themselves in a gauntlet to start the season. I mean, you can only play so well for so long against that type of competition when you're such or so much the lesser team. I do still have them as my group of five representative at this point. You have two top 25 wins, and you can't take those away.
No.
As far as Miami goes, though, they're starting to really look like the real deal in a pretty weak ACC conference. Their offense is humming. We'll see how they do in ACC play, but as of right now, Carson Beck and that offense is playing really well, and I like their chances at this point.
Yeah, in Miami, they defeated Notre Dame last week. How does that win now look? Does it look? Is it a strong win? Is it a bad win? Because now, what happened with Notre Dame this past is. But I thought, yeah, Miami. We'll talk about Notre Dame in a minute. But I thought Miami looked the part. He took care of business the way they should have. Everybody was coming in thinking, "Oh, USF could give them a run," and they kind of like felt like a little disrespect. Like they came in, they hit the ball, they smash mouth football, and they poured it on you after a delay. They poured it on. So it's gonna be very interesting week, but I think USF is okay. They North Texas is kind of creeping up there a little bit from some of their games they were playing, and I don't know. I think UCF is still okay. They got the resume because the resume matters in come November, Mark, as we all know. If you get into November, as long as they don't blend, they could probably have a blemish at conference. You got to win the conference. So if they don't win a conference, it probably don't mean nothing. But I still think they're on a good track for USF going forward here as we get into late September, early October.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, anybody could make a run there, but as of right now, I think USF will be okay, and they should be the representative up to this point. You can't take what they've done so far away from them.
No, they got the resume to prove it. Maybe Ohio or Mac school. We don't know. Probably not. Boise's still hanging around, but they got to win their conference again, and they got a tough schedule coming up for the month of October. But we're going to move on to what a game it was that makes us very, 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 very uneducated. Georgia Tech defeats Clemson 24-21. Clemson, you can pretty much write them off. They have to win. They have to pretty much win out to have a chance at the CFP, which we probably don't think is going to happen. I'm probably going to fumble. They got Florida State on their schedule still coming up. They still got tough games, Mark, and now you're looking at a 1-2 or no, 1-2, yeah, 1-2 Clemson team. And here we go. We got, I don't know. It's going to be interesting how they respond next week.
Yeah, they have some problems to work through, and now Dabo's seat is going to be pretty hot. I know on the Pat McAfee show, Nick Saban explained how he doesn't think Dabo's seat gets hot if they do lose, but at the same time, you're at a 1-3 start or a 1-2 start, whatever it is. I believe it is 1-3, but I mean, you're at a bad start, and you almost lost to Temple had you not pulled away in the end.
Troy,
Um,
not Temple, Troy.
or yeah, Troy. My apologies. Yeah, but on the flip side, like you have no O line and your defense is playing terrible. They're giving up a lot of points. I mean, you lose 41-40 to a Georgia Tech team who really can't even throw the ball. Haynes King, I don't even think had 200 yards. I mean, he was running all over them, which he does do to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're losing games in literally every single way that you possibly can lose them. And that's a concern to me, especially when you were supposed to have a high flying offense and you just finally started to put points up and you still can't even put up enough points to win the game.
Yeah, and they were the favorite to win the ACC. Now Georgia Tech's in the driver's seat along with Miami. Could be Miami, Georgia Tech. And it's interesting with Georgia Tech, Haynes King came back. They were building. As you saw last year, they beat Florida State in Ireland the first game of the season. They stacked with. They almost beat Georgia last year at the final regular season game. Won their bowl game, and now look, they're 3-0. They got to. They avoid. I was looking at the schedule. They avoid Miami until they get to that championship game, if they do. So I think that's gonna be very interesting to see how things play out. I thought Georgia Tech played it. They did what they had to do. They didn't respect. Well, I wouldn't say they didn't respect Clemson, but they knew. Hey, all this talks about Clemson, Clemson, Clemson. Georgia Tech is just sitting there. Poor old Georgia Tech. And they come in now. Clemson's not the team people thought. Now they pretty much got to win out. They don't win out, which I don't see them winning out. They're out, and makes us look uneducated because we had Clemson pretty much all the way to probably the finals. But
Yep.
Georgia Tech's number 18 in the polls jumping in. They should. They had a great win. As to Dabo on the hot seat, excuse me. I don't know. They I would say he's got 1 more year after this. You don't go back next year, then I think he's gone. I think you. I don't know. You got the. I mean, you got the talent in the quarterback. Any other school, the school he's fired. But I think Clemson. Who's going to replace him? We don't. Who's going to replace him? Nick Saban. He ain't leaving the SEC. He's going to stay in the SEC if anything. That's a question we got to ask, Mark. Who's going to replace Dabo on the hot seat if he is? But I don't think that's going to hurt Clemson as a program if that does happen.
Yeah, that's true, but at the same time, he's so reluctant to use NIL, and I know it's an annoying subject to harp on, but at the same time, like, I mean, it's a real thing. Like, I know they kind of hit the transfer portal a little bit this year, but they're so reluctant to utilize the NIL, and he's so against it and so stuck in his ways, and you can just see how the program is failing now because of it. I mean, he is an extremely good coach, but at the same time, like, I mean, he's underperforming with a good roster. And you have
Right.
a quarterback coming into this year that, I mean, granted, he's not playing very well and he has a shoddy O line, but you had a Heisman favorite quarterback coming into this year. There's no reason why you should be failing the way you are this year of all years when everything is so wide open. I mean, I could agree that he probably does get another year after this, but at the same time, like, you got to start asking the questions what's going on with him and is this philosophy still working down there in Clemson?
Yeah, and people starting to figure him out, and they got a tough. Clemson got a tough matchup this week. They got Syracuse. Syracuse is always. I mean, they've been kind of falling off the last couple of years. They haven't really, but they're always that sneaky team. Luckily, it's at Clemson, so it should be a get right game. Maybe no, it's conference. They should be okay, but it's conference play. You never know. If they lose to Syracuse, oh boy, look out. And Georgia Tech, give it credit to Georgia Tech. They got to play Temple. Hey, that's a way to build upon their resume going into more of conference play the following week after the bye. But Georgia Tech wins 24-21, and we move on to the other team in Georgia. What a game that was in overtime. Georgia defeated Tennessee 44-41 off pretty much a missed kick by Tennessee kind of set this up. Tennessee, all they had to do was kick it, and they were winners. But now they lost. They're out of the rankings in a hyped game. Georgia does what Georgia does. Well, kind of lulls you to sleep, kind of comes to strikes, preys on your mistakes, and that's what happened, Mark. 44-41. They win, and they're firmly in their driver's seat for the SEC right now.
Yeah, I mean, they looked good, man. Honestly, both teams looked good. I thought, and again, we were back to talking about freaking kickers. I mean, I granted that was it was a long kick. It wasn't the easiest kick in the world, but again, we're back to talking about these kickers and how they're performing. But
Yeah,
I actually do want to go ahead and shout out Tennessee and shout out Joey Aguilar. Everyone counted them out and counted him out, especially after the whole Nico Amaliava saga. They thought they were like he was going to be nothing. They thought he was a pushover. He shouldn't be there. He was just a shitty band aid for that program. And honestly, he balled out against Georgia, and that's
he
not
did.
an easy team to ball out against, especially when Kirby Smart is on that other sideline. We all know what type of coach he is and what type of players he brings in. So shout out to Joey Aguilar and shout out to that Tennessee offense. Their defense didn't play well, obviously. I mean, that's a lot of points to give up. But at the same time, I think you got to give credit where credit is due. In Tennessee, given that they lost the type of player that they lost, obviously he's not playing well at UCLA, and that's obviously was to be assumed already as it was. But at the same time, again, I want to shout out Joey Aguilar, shout out that Tennessee offense, and shout out the way they played, man, because everybody counted them
Yeah.
out, and they gave Georgia a dogfight, and they should have won that game.
Yeah, and they started off on fire. They scored like two touchdowns in a matter of like 5 minutes. It was like 14-0 or 14-7, and they were controlling that game. And like Georgia does, they come back, they fire, they prey on your mistakes, and they come back, and that's what they do. And they come back, they win. And Georgia looks like they're not missing much of the quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, who's going to get them. They're probably in the CFP regardless if they haven't lost because it's the SEC. You can't, God forbid, you have a bad loss, you're still kind of talked about. You're still ranked top 10, and they'll be just fine. They'll probably, who knows, if they'll face Bama, they'll face Texas. Maybe they'll get a rematch with Tennessee. Tennessee only has one loss so far, so we'll see about that. All right, one of the other games that was kind of interesting: Texas A&M versus Notre Dame. What a game that was! And I want to talk. We're expanding on this a little bit because Mark, I've been thinking ever since this game. It was a good game. Texas A&M almost blew their chance late in the fourth quarter after some penalties, but was able to settle down and come back. But more so not about the game, more so about Notre Dame not having a conference. They don't have a conference. They're still mathematically alive for the playoff, but if they go 10-2 and they went out, what do you do? Do you put them in? Do you not put them in? I don't know. What can you do when a team like Notre Dame, who's independent, for those of you that know independent, they don't have a conference. They don't have a conference. What do you do? Which I think is always the question when it comes to these guys.
Yeah, I agree. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube and actually watching the video, I was pretty aggressively pointing there for one reason and one reason alone. All of us, I think, as avid football watchers and things like that, this is a constant conversation. I understand it's tradition for Notre Dame to be this way, but at the same time, it kills them every year, and it makes things it makes things harder to even try to pick them or whatever the case may be. I understand they're struggling this year with their new quarterback. I don't know what is wrong with their running game. Um, but them not having a conference, I think it's just time to do away with old traditions. It's a new day, it's a new age, and at the end of the day, it hurts them as a program. I know last year
Yeah.
they got a boatload of money from willing their way into the championship, and they got all the money because of the fact that they didn't have a conference revenue split. But at the same time, that only helps you if you get that far. Like it kills you when it comes to the rankings and comes to trying to pick these things, and you get even if you do limp into the playoffs, you get the worst possible seeding because you have no chance to bolster your resume other than the first couple of games in the season.
Yeah, and the fact they're 0-2 and they're still ranked. I believe they're ranked. Look around. They're ranked 24 and they're 0-2. I don't know what the voters say or what they see. Like if there was any other team, if it was a Michigan, if it was even Tennessee, I think that Tennessee should have been in there still. But you're punishing Tennessee for losing to a good Georgia team, which okay, A&M's good. They're ranked. They're in the top 15, which okay, we gotta give credit there. But they counting those two losses. Okay, they have a top 5 Miami team, a top 15 A&M team, but still you're 0-2, and you lost pretty much both. I wouldn't say embarrassing fashion, but you lost, and you're still right. I don't get it. Now the schedule lines up where you're pretty much being there. Which now, like I said, these rankings don't matter. We kind of just talk about them. Whatever. Come November, if Notre Dame is still in there, I guess you got to be like, okay, they lost to the two good teams that are in there because losses do matter come November. But I don't, Mark. It's right now. I don't think they should be in there. But what are we doing?
No, I agree, and at the same time, I think from a fan perspective, the fact that they're not in a conference also makes you want to make them lose. Like you want, like now, I want to see them lose because I want someone to force them to go into a conference, go into the Big Ten, where you have all these matchups that are historic matchups with
Right.
Michigan, with the Ohio States, with Penn States, things like that, or go into the ACC where you're ACC everything else but in football. Like
Right.
it makes you want to see them lose, and it's really terrible because they're a storied and historic program. They're a good program, and you don't ever want to wish, outside of like an Ohio State, Michigan type of a thing, you don't want to wish a team to lose. But at the same time, like it's like you want to force them to have such a bad season they have no chance, or like you want them to get screwed over in the playoff rankings if nothing else but to make them go into a conference and finally just comply with the rest of the nation because like who are you to be independent and then try to get this special treatment, which they do a lot of the times because they are Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're gonna be out. If one more loss, they're done. I mean, their schedule. They got Purdue this coming week. Should win. Arkansas possibly should win. Then they got Boise State. Boise's gonna be looking. That's a game you got to watch because Boise's still hanging around at CFP talk. If they win, if they beat Notre Dame, will be ranked probably at that time, unless they fought Arkansas. That's a win for Boise. Notre Dame's gone. Goodbye. And then they got NC
And
State.
that's a big win for Boise to bolster their resume.
Yeah, and they got USC still. USC's playing pretty good right now, so that could be another. It could have almost 4 losses.
That
Or
quarterback looks legit over at USC.
yeah, and they got a big one this week against Michigan State. And who would have thought after what the problems USC had, they were almost getting ready to fire Lincoln Riley, and here they are. So Notre Dame could have potentially 3 or more losses because they still got to play Navy. You never know what Navy does. Those military teams, they're always sneaky, sneaky. So I don't know. I think Notre Dame should be out of the polls for now. If they keep winning and Miami and A&M keep winning, sure, bring them back in. But you're 0-2. You lost in not embarrassing but unexplainable ways, and here you are. You're 24. You're the only 0-2 team, and any other team you would have been out, and any you would have been out. Tennessee should be in there. I'm sorry. Tennessee should be in there. And I know our Dame
Yeah,
fans are
they
listening.
should.
Your coach, you got to get better because you're facing 3 or 4 losses coming up, and then you have no explanation to at that point because yeah, it's frustrating for some teams because there's some other teams that deserve to be in the polls right now, but it's blocked by Notre Dame.
Yep, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
So we'll see. So A&M does win. A&M moves up a little bit in the polls. A&M looks like they could be a dark horse to get into the SEC championship game, whether it's against Georgia or Texas. Texas gets going, but those are kind of big games we kind of wrapped up. We're gonna preview some of these other games coming up this weekend. We're gonna start with a nice one at 12 o'clock. An interesting game in the Big 12. Texas Tech taking on Utah. And Mark, it's battle. Both are on rank are ranked. Texas Tech 17, Utah 16. But it's gonna be a decent game. Texas Tech's kind of been, coming out on fire the last 3 games, 3-0, both 3-0, and Utah's just Utah. They win, they keep winning. They're Kyle Whittingham at the helm, and that guy's a really good coach. Who do you got and why?
I mean, I always like Utah as a team. They're extremely gritty. They play good defense. They win games that they're supposed to win. Kyle Whittingham is a good big game coach. I want to take Utah in this, and I think I will. I do like Texas Tech in the way that they're playing, but they always tend to have the notion that they drop big games or games that can really set them over the edge. I think we're going to take Utah in a close one in this one. I like the way they play, and I like their grit, and I think coaching comes into a play. And Kyle Whittingham is a damn good coach.
Yeah, Texas Tech, they're playing the part. They're 3-0. They did what they had to do in conference win and move on to conference play. Utah, they tested themselves. They went to UCLA, who well we found out UCLA just fired their coach earlier Monday morning. So they're looking for a new coach. So they're 0-3 to start. Who knows how they're going to end up? They got a rough Big Ten schedule. So thoughts and prayers to them. Um, Utah's Utah. Kyle Whittingham, he's a great coach.
Yeah.
He wins. He may have some down years, but he still wins. And I think they don't have that Cam Rising, that 8th year, 9th year quarterback, whatever he was, like the grandpa of college. But I'm
Yeah.
going Utah. I think Utah wins. I think it should be a high scoring. If it's a Big 12 type of game, you're going to see probably these
Oh
points.
yeah, it'll be high scoring for sure.
It'll be 30s, 40s type of game. You cannot count out Utah. I mean, the winner of this is I think has a drive seat to get to Iowa State in the championship game because Kansas State's out of it now. We found that out last week when they lost to Army, so they're done. Yeah, big fat on the thing, but big fat L for us. We'll take that. We'll wear that on our chest proudly because we don't know football. So, but no,
Yep.
this should be an interesting game.
Very
I'm excited
uneducated.
game at noon, right when it kicks off on big noon Saturday on Fox. So look forward to that. Another game is we're going to go to Auburn and Oklahoma. This is also an interesting game too. Nobody's seen Auburn come out the way they have been as well. Everybody knows how Oklahoma is. Defeated Michigan a couple of weeks ago. Defeated Temple this past week. But I think I'm going to go Oklahoma still. I still think that John Mateer, he's still going to make the plays, still extend plays with his legs. He's going to make the reads, and they need him. If the only way Auburn wins this game is Mateer has probably the worst game of the season so far. But Oklahoma's got that stout deep, and it's going to be interesting. I think Oklahoma will beat Texas, but we'll get to that when that game comes. But I like Oklahoma in this game. I don't know about Auburn, how they're going to respond, but I think Mark Oklahoma has the inside tracker to win this one.
Yeah, I agree. Auburn's definitely one of those surprise teams in the SEC. They've come out firing and played extremely well. Played their way into the rankings. I do agree though. When it comes down to a matchup like this, I always tend to side with the quarterback, and Mateer looks like the real deal. I do agree though. Auburn, their way to win is to is a stop material. If they shut him
Yep.
down, they could pull this one out. But I'm going with Oklahoma as well. I really like their offense, and their defense has definitely improved this year as opposed to years past. They definitely have the inside track, and I actually am with you on that. I think Oklahoma can make a serious run in this SEC, especially if they get past Auburn this weekend.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, they're still a front. He's still a Heisman front runner. And he came out. Well, we didn't think he came out of nowhere, but it was Nussmeier was Arch Manning. Nussmeier's still hanging around there. Arch Manning, the way he looked this week, and I don't. Texas got to have another loss or two when they get the SEC play because I don't know about him. But yeah, Oklahoma looks the part. They're 3-0. Got a big one against Auburn before they get in more to conference play. So I'll be excited to see that. Both got Auburn there. We'll move on to Michigan and Nebraska. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll just kind of go as the games of the day, like the timing. But I just think an interesting one. We're going to know a lot more about Michigan than we did this week because this, like we talked about, this was kind of a scrimmage, if you will. We don't know what Nebraska's got. They only played Cincinnati and they played Akron and Houston Christian, both teams that, okay, you throw it on paper, it's a mismatch. It was a mismatch. So we really don't know what Nebraska could do against a decent type of defense. So I'm gonna go Michigan. I think they're gonna. I think they learned something. They're without Sharon Moore. You look what happened on Sharon Moore this week. They opened up the playbook. Bryce used his legs. What when they got Nebraska got baby Mahomes, but I don't know. I I think Michigan pulls it out. I think they do. I just Nebraska. How does Nebraska respond to a defense not? No offense to the schools, high school level, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm going Michigan on that one as well. Michigan doesn't play a lot of zone defense, and that's really where Raiola, or for those of you that don't know, he basically does everything like Mahomes. So we'll call him wannabe Mahomes.
Want to be Mahomes or
That's
baby
really
Mahomes?
where he excels is um is against zone defenses. Michigan knows they have players and they play man straight up for most of the game, and their defense wants to come at you. I think they have the better quarterback, and I do think that that offensive coordinator now has the reins to kind of open it up and do what he wants to do, and really use this kid's arm with Justice Hayes as a backup, where you can give him the ball and he can hit a home run at any time. I think it's going to be a close game for probably the first couple of quarters, but I do think Michigan runs away with it, and is just a better big game team with better coaching. But
Yeah,
don't count Nebraska out. I will say that
no,
if Michigan goes in there and sleepwalks, it's not going to be easy.
no, I don't think it'll be a blow. I don't think Michigan walks away. I think it's gonna be a 4 quarter game. Michigan, they have the defense. They got the quarterback to try to extend plays. Now he's got his legs, so Nebraska's got to account for: is he gonna run? Is he gonna throw? Or if he's unexpected thrower, Michigan will win. I think Michigan wins, but it's gonna be a battle of two good quarterbacks. I'm excited to see the quarterback battle. Matt Rule over there. Can't forget
Yeah,
about Matt.
two
Matt Rule
two
over there.
two who was previously dubbed as generational talents going head to head, two 5-star or former 5-star and number one overall quarterbacks.
Yeah, and even in in Matt Rule, he's a great coach. He went to Baylor and then he went to Nebraska, so he's been like kind of all over the college football world as he's doing things good at Nebraska. And if Nebraska wins, they got the inside track as well. Both teams got the inside track to start off conference play behind Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon. And the loser and the winner of Illinois and Indiana, which we will get to right now. Illinois and Indiana. This is a big game. I'm kind of upset. College game day did not go to this game because they decided to pick an in-state matchup of Florida Miami, and I know a lot of people unhappy about that. But Mark, who do you got in this game and why?
I think I'm gonna go with Illinois. I like their quarterback a bit better. I think that again that they're our kind of Big Ten Cinderella team for the year this year. And I think they give a lot of people a scare. I'm gonna go Illinois in a 4-quarter game. It's gonna be very close, but it's gonna be Illinois regardless. I do like Indiana. I like their coaching, but I think it's just Illinois' year.
Yeah, I like Illinois too. Indiana, we don't know what Indiana's got. It's like kind of like Nebraska. Really didn't play anybody in the non-conference slate. Illinois had to go to Duke, had to take out. They struggled a little bit against Western Michigan last week for eventually pulling away. But I like Illinois. I think Illinois is going to come out. They're going to set the tone, and this is going to help Illinois on the road because they got a big one coming up. We're going to keep mentioning until we get there. It's going to come up fast. Almost 3 weeks to go before they get that matchup with Ohio State coming up. So I think this is going to be it's going to be a very interesting game against Indiana because if they get past this, they're free till Indiana. They're free till Ohio State, and they know they got Ohio State coming, and I think they want to start conference playoff right and make that probably the biggest game of those kids' lives when number one probably should be number one Ohio State comes into town in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely making me nervous. That's for sure. And what's it called? Quite honestly, I don't know. I think Illinois is going to be a lot more tough than what people thought. Um, even though they were already high on them, I think last week's struggles were a blunder. But at the same time, I do think that they, I'm scared of them, man. As an Ohio State fan, I'm worried about the way that they play. They play that slow you down type of football,
Come on,
and they can score points and
You
play
got Jeremiah
defense.
Smith. You shouldn't be scared.
Hey, man, Big Ten teams always play you tough.
Yeah, never in a big. That's like the great thing about conference play. You just never know going, especially on the road. It's interesting because you pretty much Ohio State gets it gets a two road games coming off the bye, but been sandwiched between a home game against. I think it's against Minnesota if I'm not mistaken, but. So you're pretty. So it's be to see how the test goes in two hostile environments for Ohio State. But yeah, I take it. We both take Illinois against Indiana. I think the Cinderella story for Indiana comes to an end. But if Indiana wins, could be back on again. You never know with Coach Cignetti. The Fighting Cignetti's at the helm, but we will see how that goes. One last game to wrap up the college slate: South Carolina and Missouri. This is also an interesting game after South Carolina did fall to Vanderbilt. And look at Vanderbilt; they're 3-0. They got a big one coming up against LSU in a couple weeks, and that's gonna be a very interesting game to watch at Vanderbilt too. But at this, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go South Carolina. Both teams can win this game, but I just think Carolina has the inside track. They got the quarterback. They got the receiver, Nick Harbor, and I just and Sellers was a front runner for the Heisman. He kind of still is. If you could especially get this one on against Missouri in a top 25 clash in Missouri, Mark.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going the other way on this. This one is going to be one where we do disagree. Sellers did get knocked out of last week's game where they did lose against Baylor, and I actually like Missouri's quarterback as well. Bo Prabula, the transfer from Penn State, who I believe was
Yeah.
also a 5-star quarterback at the time um, of his what's it called of his transfer and things like that. He fought Drew Aller for the job pretty well as well. I like the way Missouri plays football. I like their offense. And with Sellers being a bit dinged, I do believe that I believe Missouri and Bo Prabula can really pull this one out, and that's who I'm going with.
Yeah, they got a good coach and got a good coach there, Missouri, and I think it's a toss up, But I like South Carolina. I think they'll have the inside track. I stand correct. I just looked. It's not top 25 game anymore. Both teams lost. As both unranked. Or no, I think about Missouri is ranked 23. South Carolina fell after losing to Vanderbilt, which I don't know. See, this is another example of why you're not. This would I'm speechless because you South Carolina lost to Vanderbilt. Okay, Vanderbilt 3-0. You got to give them props, but they fell all the way out, South Carolina. But you're leaving Notre Dame in. It just makes Mark. It makes no sense. I don't get it.
Well, the only thing I can really say about any of it is that at least for now, they don't really count, and it's a lot of bias that goes into it because of the voters and who the voters are. But I
And even
am
they
with you in the fact that yeah, sometimes I just really don't get how they honestly see these things. It's crazy to me. It's just crazy.
like it should be a top 25 matchup, and it's not because you got Notre Dame blocking that spot, probably from South Carolina, which it's just beyond. I don't get it. Why, I don't get it. Why do you like Notre Dame and not that was a non-conference game they lost in South Carolina. Now I get it. You're A&M. You lose to a good A&M team, but you're 0-2. You played like crap in both
Yeah.
games. Should have won A&M. If you're 1-1, okay, but now you're taking a spot away from a team that deserves to be in there, and I don't get it. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. The
Oh,
voters are
it's
biased.
extremely frustrating.
And I know the voters are SEC biased, so we can't let them off the hook for that. But you're letting Notre Dame stay in there. It's frustrating. And all your Notre Dame fans are, how can you be happy being ranked 0-2? I would not be happy as Michigan being ranked 0-2. Would it be nice? Yeah, okay, whatever. But you're 0-2. Ohio State, God forbid they were 0-2. Why would they be ranked? Like, come on now. Like, this is where we talked about when we did our things earlier in this, or like episode 1 or 2. The paper. You cannot go off paper. You got to go off performance. And they think that performance was good last week to go 0-2 to be 24. Come on now. You can't do that.
It's like they're just holding out because Notre Dame holds such a big name, and has a couple of big name players like Jeremiah Love on their roster, and Marcus Foreman is all of a sudden a beloved coach. But anybody that knows ball knows, or even that's watched college football, just this year alone knows that they do not deserve to be in the rankings, and it's time to get them up out of there. And now, unfortunately, we're all on the side of we're hoping they lose, and it's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, and the schedule plays out. It's frustrating. It's a great debate. There's a lot of great debates in college football about who's in. Especially just wait till November when there's teams that probably shouldn't be as ranked as high. Then we really get into debate mode on who's in, who's out. Especially when it comes to mid-November when a team loses and another team wins. It gets very interesting. So you guys are in for some good debates and takes when we get going in November. So we're gonna move on to. We thought this thing segment was good last week, so we're gonna do some fantasy booms and busts, and it was a good. We thought it was a good segment, so we're gonna carry it at least for another week or so, depending on how the reaction we get. But Mark, who are some of your fantasy booms and busts from week 2 of the NFL season?
Um, Big booms this week. I'm gonna give my first big one. I actually have two. Wandale Robinson from the New York Giants. Everybody kind of slept on him. Nobody's really talking about him as a wide receiver. Obviously, he's shadowed by Malik Neighbors, which rightfully so, of course. Malik Neighbors is absolutely insane. But
Yeah,
Wandale Robinson ended up with 28 points and a boatload of catches. I don't even think he scored a touchdown, but I mean, he went crazy
and a
this week.
shootout. Yeah,
Oh, he did actually score a touchdown, 8 receptions, 142 yards on 10 targets. I called him Kyle when we talked about it. I called him the short route assassin. He's always there, he's always open, he's getting to the sticks, and he makes people miss. He was a big one, and then Jared Goff. He put it to the fighting Ben Johnsons over there in Chicago, and he
yeah,
showed Ben Johnson that he was the reason that offense worked. He went absolutely insane. I believe in some leagues he got up to as much as 40 points. I believe through a boatload of touchdowns, and the Lions looked extremely, extremely good. So those are my two booms of the week. Again, they just went absolutely nuts. So if you had them, you probably had a pretty good week. My one bust for the week, whether it's um you know, fair or not, Justin Fields against that Buffalo defense. Obviously, Buffalo is good, but Justin Fields had a bad week, and so did Brees
I thought
Hall. Brees Hall, after a big time 20-point game last week, he had a good week. Justin Fields, Brees Hall, basically the Jets' backfield, just did not show up. I think they combined for less than 10 points together as a quarterback running back duo. So those are my two busts for the week, at least for my teams.
yeah, but it's Buffalo. Buffalo's a good defense. You can't really measure it as Justin Fields. I mean, they played great against Pittsburgh last week, but Jets are 0-2. It's to be interesting how they if they can make a win. It don't get easy. I got Tampa Bay this coming week, so that's going to be definitely much harder to win. So it's pretty much a gauntlet. And the Jets could be looking at 0-3
Yeah,
with Aaron Glenn, the new coach who got hired from the Detroit Lions last year, excuse me. So it's tough sledding for the Jets to start the season. Potentially could start 0-3. Who
yeah.
are who are actually I'll go with my bust. My bust were Evan Ingram only got like one catch for and only got me 2 points. He probably stopped me from winning a fantasy week in one of my fantasy leagues. Hunter Henry also he really didn't do much. But and then Marvin Harrison Jr. Give credit to Carolina. They were down by like 20 and they battled back to force to put the scare in Arizona where Arizona did win in the end. But Marvin Harrison only got like I think like 4 or 5 points, not much, not even a touchdown. I had him in a parlay, didn't hit, but it's not a lot of parlays hit this week. But yeah, that's
Yeah, ain't
kind of
that the truth?
Yeah, so that's kind of some bust for me. Is the Colts played Ingram good, and Ingram coming off the calf injury was healthy, just didn't get targets. And Denver, I guess there's a new receiver in town, Franklin, who is kind of took the world by storm yesterday. Had a great game against
No.
the Colts. Left Sutton, Cohen Sutton only had like one catch per or one
Yeah,
catch.
I think Sutton only ended up with I think he ended up with less than 2 points yesterday.
Yeah, he had like 1.1, I think. And then even Mims was a top target, and here comes Franklin, who just came in and kind of took over the game. But yeah, so those are kind of my busts. Marvin Harrison Jr., Ingram, Henry, AJ Brown. We talked about him last week. He got a couple points, more points. Hopefully, he's just getting going, especially against the Kansas City defense. My booms before we continue. Jared Goff. He had a great game as they scored. The Detroit Lions scored 52 points. They Golf had 33 points for me in fantasy. That was nice to see. Devin Achan, 26 points and a loss to the Patriots, which was good. He's when they run the ball, don't really have a good quarterback right now in Tua, but and Nick Jackson's picked the jig about 14 points. Kind of came out last this past week, so I kind of pleased with those. But I'm on 4 this week in fantasy, so I don't know ball or my teams don't know ball, Mark, and we got to regroup and rebound for next week.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm going to end up going 2-2. It is extremely frustrating. And again, the fantasy woes and the fantasy ruins of the weekend is back upon us. And obviously, it's on a weekly scale here. And we're just going to keep rolling with these L's.
Keep rolling with the yells. As what do you got for some of your booms for fantasy this week? That was coming.
I had Jared Goff as well. I liked one as well as Wandale Robinson. I actually am also going to give a bit of credit to Jalen Waddle. He has been extremely up and down. He had a score this weekend. I believe, obviously, I did not play him, which of course is why he performed. But I believe in some leagues he had up to like 20 points or so. So big dubs and big credit to him. And I know the other one for the past 2 weeks. I know he's kind of a boomer bust player as it is, but DeAndre Hopkins, the second straight week in a row where he scored a touchdown and gotten over 15 or so points. So I'm going to give him a boom for the week as well. If you played D Hop, he performed for you there pretty
Yeah,
well.
did he ever? Yeah, did he ever? D Hop with the nice touchdown, a couple touchdowns against the Browns. We're to deep dive into that in a little bit. But who would have thought that D Hop, the Dustin or DeAndre Hopkins would come out and play like that, especially when you have Zay Flowers or Sean Bateman, Mark Andrews, and you're throwing to. That's pretty much how the Browns season has been going. You get DeAndre Hopkins to have like 2 touchdowns for like 50 plus yards, and it's amazing. We'll get into that in just moments. But folks, we gotta send a couple birthday wishes out, or a birthday wish and an anniversary out. Happy birthday to Ryan, aka Miss Chaka, for her birthday this weekend, coming up on the 20th. As I got to know Ryan, aka Miss Chaka, and Aaron, we call him Bad Chaka through the streaming and podcast world. So, and they're a great family. Their sons, Abel and Stetson, really great people. So, Miss Chaka, have a great birthday, and I have a great birthday. Enjoy. Hope the hubby treats you well this weekend. Let you celebrate and have some fun this weekend, which I know the Chakas do. Is they're a great family. As I got to know them, get to know them on a personal level. They're very, very great. So I'm looking forward to hearing some fun stuff this week. Hopefully this weekend you guys got planned. So happy birthday, Miss Chaka. Hope it all goes well. And also a very special happy anniversary that happened last week to Katie and Gus as they are celebrating 8 years, I believe. I'm sorry if I misspoke on that, but 8 years of marriage and their sons, Levi and Sonny. They're an amazing family. I'm very
Oh yeah.
blessed to have met them as well, and they've been none short of amazing families. So both families I've just mentioned are amazing. So, guys, happy anniversary to you two. Here's to many, many more. And Miss Chaka, happy birthday. Enjoy the weekend, guys. Much celebrations. And yeah, so those are my big shout outs for the week. And we'll get more special one coming next week as well. But so stay tuned. We do have an announcement coming up, which kind of ties into what's going on. So stay at the end of the show. But we're going to move on to some NFL, and we're going to talk. We're going to get the pull advantage right off as the Browns lose. I can see Mark's reaction. to the Ravens, 41-17 as I'm watching. And Fairbairn for the Texans just made a 53-yard field goal. They're still in it. But the Browns lose 41-14. I don't even know where to start. Defense looked good until they got tired. Offense looks horrid. Hey, at least we got Junkins looking good, though. I mean, Mark, I don't even know. Gabriel looked good. Yeah, they're sick. We look good in garbage time. But other than that, we look like complete doo doo.
Yeah, I don't really know where we go from here. You basically have a defense that in the last what 6 quarters, 5 quarters or so, has given up like less than 150 yards combined. You held a really potent offense to what you did up until, I mean, your defense just was on the field too much. It's actually insane to me how bad the offense looked.
Yeah, look.
Yesterday we had a bunch more drops. Flacco just looked like the age caught up to him yesterday. I know the Ravens have a good defense, but at the same time, like you were put in one of the best positions possible. Like you, you, you the Browns almost didn't want to win that game. It seemed like the defense bailed them out so many times, gave
Yeah,
them
they just
so
got
many
tired.
good opportunities, and we just gave it right back to the Ravens.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
you were what 10-3 at halftime. You come back out. You get the
Yeah.
ball. You get the ball to start the half, or I believe I forgot who started. I think it was Ravens. I don't know. Anyway, someone started half of the ball, and you were there. You were in the game. If it was, you were in the game. If it wasn't for those turnovers and there's I don't know. And then you put the defense back out there. This is what the defense is going to wear down over the season. It's only week two, and you got them playing for almost 60 minutes because the offense came with the ball. Flacco had a couple bad interceptions again that cost them a game, and now it goes back. How long do they keep Flacco here? How long does he play? Do you put when you put Gabriel in? You mean okay? People were talking, on sports radio on Monday. You got to go into the schedule, but at some point, okay, do you? I don't know. Do you really want Michael Parsons teeing off on your rookie quarterback Gabriel or Shador? Because Shador obviously Shador ain't ready if he ain't even on the active roster right now. Gabriel, he looked good in garbage time. He's a lefty, got the ball out and through, but I don't know where you go from here. You're 0-2. You had a chance to be at least 1-1. Your kicker blew that last week. I don't know, Mark. You don't. I don't know where to go. I don't even want to pick this Browns Packers game coming up a little bit because we all know who we're picking, so we might not even pick that.
Yeah, I don't even know if we need to pick it, but at the same time, um, yeah, I feel like you got to keep Flacco and you got to keep him in at least for the gauntlet that we have coming up because otherwise you're just going to destroy another rookie quarterback. Um, I will I will say this, and I mean, at what point, Kyle? I know I gave you a bit of a hint on. I'll be asking a pretty intense question. At what
Oh, boy.
point do you just decide um, that you're just going to tank and try to get um, another quarterback? Like I know it's week two, and as Pat McAfee and them boys call it, an overreaction Monday. As we record this on Monday night, I mean, at what point do you just decide that we're going to tank and try to use some of these first round picks to like truly rebuild and try to get someone that can really fix our franchise?
I don't know because we don't know who's coming out. We don't know if Arch Manning's coming out. Drew Aller's going to be there. Garrett Nussmeier is going to be there. I would love Nussmeier personally over Arch and Drew, but we don't.
I would
Nussmeier
agree.
could be a top 3 or 5 or at least a 10 pick. He might be a top 10 pick. I don't know about top 5 or 3, but we don't even know. Now we have that second first round pick. Jacksonville looks good. They might not even be in the top 10 if they keep. We don't, or might be
Yeah,
lower top.
that's true.
They should have beat the Bengals and they kind of blew it at the end. They're 1-1. So, but I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough situation you're in. How long do you? I mean, it looks like they're taking already. You can't tell me they're not taking because you're 0-2.
Yeah,
You're so. I mean, Flacco gives you the best chance to win. Let's be honest right now. But you got
yeah, that much is true. And again, I don't think you want to ruin a rookie's psyche and ego at this
right.
point in time, making them play the type of pass rushers that we're about to be playing against.
Yeah.
But on the bright side, we do look to obviously we have a good defense still. I mean, they can't win the game for us essentially at this point because we can't score any points. But we do have a good young stable of running backs, and they're showing true promise. So I guess that's something that we can at least hang our hat on.
We might not be selling our Browns win this whole time on the podcast, at least for this season, because we might be 0-17 by the time this is all done. Maybe we'll celebrate a win
Yeah,
down the road.
honestly.
But I know some Bills fans. God, I wish I was them right now. They're 2-0, and they got a decent to go 2-0 on Thursday night when they played Miami at home. And but I mean, right now you're still obviously everybody's still in it. But I mean, now there's a game. I was talking to a couple of our other friends about this, and it's like there's a game they got to win, and it's either it's Detroit. It could be Detroit for all we know, because Detroit, even though they played, I mean, they, I don't know. It's frustrating because you had that game last week. You should at least be sitting 1-1. If it wasn't for your kicker, and now
Yep.
your defense is keeping in the game. And well, okay, let's just say God forbid they go on this run and they somehow in our playoff hunt come late November, early December. Now your defense is exhausted because it goes back to earlier in the season. They were on the field the whole game and they could not, or they couldn't hold it down because everybody's tired. Now you're missing key pieces on the defense because of training camp injuries and all that. So that's the thing.
Yep.
Daniel Ward, don't get me started on him because he could go. Trade him. Goodbye. If we're out of it, goodbye. Probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't care. Call me out on it. Trade him. Oh, he's one of the best corners. Yeah, yeah. But he can't stay healthy. He got cramps. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because you had a chance. Now you don't even know Deshaun. Why is Deshaun still on this roster? You just wish him happy birthdays. He couldn't go back and play. Are we gonna trade him too? I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. As you can tell, I don't know where we go from here, Mark. I really don't. It's only 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's it's almost so bad. Like I was freaking out yesterday, and now I'm just like numb to it. Like it's just like I'm so distraught, and I just
Hey,
have no idea what they're gonna do or where to
for
even go.
a job, he just scored a 30-yard touchdown right as we're talking about this. How about that? How about
Who
that?
did?
Nick Chubb. There you go. There you go, folks.
Well, and there's the extra knife to the gut there.
Yep, Nick Chubb just had a 25-yard touchdown rush. So there you are, Browns fans. I mean, was he going to stay here? We don't know, but it would have been nice to have him right now, even though the offense probably wouldn't have done anything. But so there you go. He's living it up in Houston. Good for him. But anyways, Mark, I'm sorry. Continue. Of course, only fitting that happens, but continue.
No, I mean, kind of just like I was saying, it's just I mean, at this point it's like it's so baffling and I'm so like distraught by the team that I don't even know if I have the energy to get mad at them anymore. Because it's just every week it's something new and it's something even worse. It's like I said last week, we find a new way to lose every single week. It's
Yeah.
insane.
And I know at some point we're gonna be talking probably more towards the end of the season. Does the coach stay? Does the GM stay? Or I mean, obviously they're gonna be here till at least the season's end, so we got a long while before we even get into that debate. But I don't know what to do. It's gonna be I don't know what to say or do because they got Green Bay this week, and Green Bay looks like the best team in the NFC right now, especially acquiring Michael Parsons, and they got they got a good quarterback, good running game, and the receivers. Oh, their receivers are okay, but they got that Matthew Golden who's supposed to hopefully change their cores, and they're coming in. They don't care. They don't feel sorry. So it might be another bad one on Sunday, folks. As we'll see. As we'll just get out of the way. We're both picking Packers, so we don't even need to start this.
Yeah, Packers are gonna blow us out. I mean,
We don't
you're
even need
playing one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah, so we're not going to discuss that game. We'll just worry about that later. But let's talk about some fun football on Sunday. Let's talk about the wild Cowboys Giants OT game. What a game that was to talk about. As Malik Neighbors is going to be a star. He caught almost everything. Two huge bombs for touchdowns, and it was incredible that the Giants are still in that. Russell Wilson almost had 500 yards in just passing alone. That was incredible. Almost every possession in the fourth quarter was a score. It was like 21-20 or some score wise. And that was just a wild game to the end.
Yeah, I agree. Russ pulled one of his old Russ games out of the hat, threw a couple of moon balls, and they were off and running. I couldn't even tell you who was going to win that game at one point because it was so back and forth. I think they tied, if I'm not mistaken, they tied the amount of lead changes in the fourth quarter in NFL history the other day during their game. I mean, it was truly insane, and I think honestly, the Giants aren't a pushover team, man. They have a good offense, and I agree. I think Malik Neighbors is if he's not right now, he's going to be a top three wide receiver in the entire league here very very soon. Again, I think he really might be, but the receiver position has got so much depth You can argue it one way or the other, but I mean, he's got some serious talent, and that dude is an animal.
Yeah, 9 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, and and imagine fantasy. He put up like almost 40 fantasy points just for that performance
Video
alone.
game numbers.
Yeah, and who knows? He might not even be playing with Russell Wilson if they. I don't know. Do they play or they put in Jackson Dart at some point? That's might be the future. Dart and Neighbors, as if they continue to lose, you're going to probably see Dart before the season's over. You never because no reason to play
Yeah,
Russell.
and there already was reports that that Dayball asked if he could go to Dart. I mean, that was right before Russ threw for freaking whatever 600 yards or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and pulled the Fountain of Youth game out of his ass. But I mean, there were reports already that Dayball was looking to go to Dart and asking the franchise for permission to.
Yeah, and it don't get easier for the Giants. They got Kansas City Chiefs coming, who's also 0-2, licking their wounds a little bit because they're looking to get on a winning track, and I think Kansas City should get on a winning track there this weekend. But the Cowboys, they're 1-1. They're 1-1. They barely won. They should have been almost 0-2. Still have, and I think Pickett been an X factor a little bit. He's taking the load a little bit from CD Lamb for all your fantasy people as well, and betters and parlay members. We looked up, every pass was to Pickens, and there was no sign of CD. I mean, CD caught his passes, but it looks like Pickens is opening the field for Dallas, so maybe you could get CD wide open as the weeks go on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. They finally found, and Jerry finally moved to get that number two to help CD out. Um,
Yeah.
and so far this year, it's clearly helping their offense. They're scoring a boatload of points.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of points as they scored 40 and they scored 20 against the Eagles last week in week one. So it's been interesting. They got the Bears this week, so both teams be coming in. It should be could that could be a high scoring game as well coming up there when we get to that game next week. We're gonna move on. What a game this was too. Then the Broncos and the Colts. Colts won 29-28 off some controversial call at the end as they were not as there's a penalty on Denver. So for non-football fans, football fans, you kind of know this. When the long snapper on a field goal or punting, I think it's only field goal. I'm not sure about punting. I could have that wrong, but Mark, correct me on that. But
I
on the
believe it is both, but I'm not completely sure either.
at least on the field goals, we know you cannot touch the snapper. Snapper has his head down for injury purposes. Okay, whatever. But so Denver was penalized for leap. You cannot touch him at all. You got to let him pretty much just stand there. So Denver leaped over him as leverage to try to block it, and he got called for the penalty after the Schrader missed his kick. So he missed it. They got the 15 yards, and he buried it. And that was a weird, crazy ending. Danny Dimes again. Danny Dimes 2-0. Are Danny Dimes leading the Colts to a playoff spot, even though they're only 2-0?
Hey, I mean, the thing is the Colts have an extremely good defense, and Daniel Jones is doing just enough as a game manager to keep his defense off the field, give them some rest, and get them in scoring position. And he's got weapons around him. I could see the Colts making a serious run if all things are good and they stay healthy. I think health and the coaching staff continue to put Daniel Jones in good positions is what's really going to make or break their season this year. But as of right now, that defense is legit, and their offense has weapons as long as Daniel Jones doesn't turn to a pumpkin.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones looked good. It's opened up some good wide receivers to Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and even the new guy, the tight end from Penn State, Tyler Warren. He's getting his looks for fair share of looks with the ball too, and
Yeah,
he's
he
been
looks amazing.
yeah, and the Colts really didn't have a tight end to begin with the last couple of years. He had Mo Ali Cox. Okay, he wasn't really getting the ball to him. Now you got Tyler Warren who could get out in space, create space, and he had a couple good catches yesterday. And he's going to be a good tight end to watch down the season, especially when when teams kind of team up on the receivers. You're going to have Warren, who should you cover because you're going to be trying to figure out who to cover, who to kind of lean back off. So, but Denver, they're going to be right. They're going to be okay. Bo Nix is kind of in a weird game. Then Franklin from the wide receiver came out of nowhere. He literally led a drive,
Yeah.
caught almost every pass, or pretty much every pass that got resulted in a touchdown. So, I think Denver will be okay. You can't. Denver's going to be good. They'll probably at least sneak in as a wild card, I would think. But Bo Nix is Bo Nix. Sean Payton's a really good coach, as those of you that know with the Saints, and they still got a good defense and they still got a good running back game as well.
Yeah, I agree. Denver's going to be just fine. Um, and their division isn't super strong at the moment. So they'll make their runs. They'll be okay, and that defense is going to do a lot of work. As well as Sean Payton and Bo Nix, kind of similar to what you said. I think they'll be just fine. It was definitely a weird game, and obviously we see as of right now the Colts are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
So you can't really hold that against Denver too much.
No, and the Colts, they could go 3-0. They got 10 at the Titans this week. Titans been playing a little decent ball, but it's in right there for the Colts
Yeah.
to go 3. And our guy Pat McAfee could be celebrating another 3 or another win, 3-0, and kind of wheeling him into the Super Bowl. But we're moving on to one more to wrap up the Sunday slate. Kansas City and Philadelphia, the Super Bowl 59 rematch. Philly did win 2017 in kind of a defensive battle. Uh, Eagles did get Brown more involved this week, as I know there's been a kind of a story coming out of week one. Eagles, they look the part still. They're going to be in there till the end. Is it time to panic in Kansas City yet? Was from any other team, Mark? I think it's time to panic. But when you're KC and Mahomes and Reed, there's really you guys are sitting back like laughing, like, okay, we're going to run the table here pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that if it was any other team, the stats of the doom of 0 and 2 really start to come into play. But not only do you got Mahomes, but I mean they're a championship team and their attitude hasn't changed.
Right.
Um, I mean, at the end of the day, they if it's any team that's going to beat those odds and make it to the playoffs, et cetera, it's going to be Kansas City. Mahomes always pulls the magic out. I'm assuming Kelsey's going to eventually wake up once Rasheed Rice and that comes back and that group starts to get going. You
For
never
sure.
really know what could happen. I think the main point is they need to get their running game back. And I think they have a chance. Their defense is always going to play up to standard. I know they lost some pieces, but at the same time, I mean, they're the Kansas City Chiefs. You can't count them out. And if anybody's going to do it, it's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live, and obviously one of the greatest tight ends to ever walk the earth as well. If he starts to wake up and that offense starts to get some firepower, you never know what can happen.
And one of the greatest coaches of all time too. Andy Reid came from the
Yeah,
Eagles, went to Kansas City. So, but no, I can't say it'd be fine. They're gonna be in there to the end. You cannot count them out. It'll be very surprising if they don't make it at least as a wild card teams. The Chargers looked apart. Denver's gonna look apart. It's gonna be interesting. The Raiders, they're still kind of figuring out what's going on over there with Tom Brady and all that. But this is gonna be a good 3-team race going down the stretch every week,
yeah.
especially when you get because Kansas State still got to play Chargers one more time, and then they still got to play Denver twice. So it's going to be very interesting. But down the road, Philly, they're Philly. They're going to be fine. They're going to sneak in, probably win the division because now there's reports to Jaden Daniels. He's out. He's only out this week. Could it be longer? Who knows? Depending on how he's feeling next week. But so there takes a hit to
It definitely
Washington.
hinders that offense.
Yeah, takes the what's the word I'm looking for? Takes them out of the
I mean,
equation
it
for
takes
now.
his legs away and it takes that option away from them. That's for sure.
And the defense could kind of set up, okay, attack, kind of contain them. And so we'll see how Washington handles it. Dallas, they're going to be hanging around till the end unless they pull the Dallas Cowboys' way of losing games and with the new coach. So we'll see how that goes later down the season. So 2017 Philly, a nice little defensive game, as the game should have went, as everyone thought. We didn't think it'd be high scoring with the defenses, as people are still talking about the tush push. What's going on with the tush push? We're not going to get into that because we could debate days and weeks and everything. Maybe we'll have a show just on the tush push. I know we got a couple Eagles fans that watch. Maybe we'll bring the Eagles fans on to talk about the tush push later on,
Go Birds.
especially if there's a controversial call. We may bring him on at some point. The Eagles fans to kind of talk and give his side of why it works and the psychology and theory about all that. So those are kind of your wrap ups for week 2 of the NFL season. Week 3 is on the horizon as Tampa Bay's going in with about 29 seconds left to go. So, but as another former Brown Baker Mayfield, a lot of former Browns today. It's kind of pouring salt into the womb for a Browns
Oh,
fan.
that's just how the football gods work.
Yeah, so we're kind of watching it right now as Baker drops back, fires, catches to I don't think that's Evans. No, it was on the tight end. So it's gonna be 9 seconds left. Oof. So all right, we're gonna make some picks. We have some chaos here as we're doing picks for week 3. We got the Browns and Packers, so we're not gonna worry about Browns and Packers. Here's a game that's very interesting. This now we kind of pick these games out before the week starts, not thinking anything's going to happen. Cincinnati, the Bengals versus the Minnesota Vikings. The battle of the backup quarterbacks now of all things. It's Jake Browning for Cincinnati versus Carson Wentz for Minnesota as Joe Burrow is out for 3 months at least with a turf toe injury. He's getting surgery ASAP. And we found out today, or Monday, J.J. McCarthy has an ankle sprain, so he's going to be out at least 1 week, maybe longer. So, Mark, battle the backups. I don't know. Think I would. I think I'm going to go Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati slides that offense that can wheel into a win with a backup QB. Minnesota didn't really move the ball on Sunday Night Football against the Falcons, and you got the Bengals coming in there. They got a good running back. They still got a good receiving core. The defense still stout. I like Minnesota, or excuse me, Cincinnati in this one.
Yeah, I actually am following suit there. I'm going Cincinnati. I spoke about this earlier today with you, Kyle. I do think that when you have a weapon like Jamar Chase who is constantly healthy and constantly just unstoppable, I know Jefferson's on the other side, but at the same time, he doesn't really have anybody on his side of the field that can take pressure off like Jamar does with T. Higgins. Browning played well last season in some cleanup duty and through some injuries that he needed to play through, things like that. Again, they have a good running game. Their defense isn't playing too bad, all things considered. While the Vikings defense really isn't playing very good, Michael Penix kind of lit them up for a little while, and things like that. So I think I'm going to go with the Bengals. I mean Carson Wentz is the more known backup, but that doesn't mean he's the better backup at this point in time. And I think Cincinnati has the weapons to assist a backup quarterback better than what the Vikings do at this point in time.
Yeah, for fans, it actually may help. Cases like Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison. Yeah, they. I think it's going to be Cincinnati is going to run away with that one. So the Rams. All right, we're gonna go Rams and Eagles. I think it's gonna be an interesting game as well. Bet have some good defenses, both coming off wins again in their respective games. Mark, who do you got and why?
I got the Eagles. I'm going with the exciting whites. Um, I think the Eagles just know how to win games. They actually kind of remind me of Kansas City a few years ago. They have that championship mentality and that championship mystique where they go into places and they know that even if they don't play their best, they're going to find a way to win. They have a great offensive line. They have a great offense. You have a lot of weapons, and that defense is still there. As long as Jalen Carter, the exciting whites in the secondary can do their job. And Stafford's always a little dinged up. He's getting a little old. Give me the Eagles.
Yeah, and Stafford's dealing with with the kind of his bad back, and they're coming in. They still got a good defense, and who knows? They shut down a good, powerful offense in the Texans a couple weeks ago. But I like the Eagles. I think the Eagles start off 3-0. They got Barkley. They got AJ Brown going, who's still going to get going. Devontae Smith got going too. But I think their defense holds the Rams to a long day for the defense or offense, and I think the Eagles get it done there. We're gonna go Broncos Chargers. This is an interesting game as well, as both teams, as we mentioned earlier, are fighting for the AFC West. I'm gonna go. That's tough. I'm gonna go Chargers. I think they're just the better team right now, but not none against the Broncos. I still think the Broncos were a very good team, but I think the Chargers are. There's the way they played the way they did this past week against Kansas City. I think they can win the division. So give me the Chargers, and what should be maybe a high scoring game, or maybe even a good defensive bat running game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the Chargers as well. I think the Chargers and Broncos probably split this season series, but this is not the game the Broncos are going to win at this point in time, especially because through the first 2 weeks of the season, the Chargers have played two completely different games. One game they came out extremely pass heavy. The first game they came out and they played a hardball style offense. Their defense is still legit over there in on the Chargers team, and I like the way Justin Herbert's playing. I like the confidence he's playing with, and I like the way Harbaugh coaches and calls games. I say the Chargers win, but I definitely could see this being a very low scoring game, which I think Herbert ends up being the better and more seasoned quarterback in that situation. So give me the Chargers in a close one.
Yeah, and what is Harbaugh's method? defense and pound the football, run the football. He loves his running backs. He loves to throw, or he loves to throw when needed, but you run the football. They run the football, play good D, and it sets them up for success, as you saw. But they threw the ball around against Kansas City. They got Keenan Allen involved, Lad McConkey. They got Najee Harris
No,
kind of that
even
back.
Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, Quinn Johnson too. And I know Mark, we talked about that a little bit with Quinn Johnson, as you weren't too high on him, and then he comes out and has a great game that week, and you were kind of just like beside yourself. That's what the intelligence
Oh, I
of
was definitely shocked, but I can tell you one thing: if they can get Quentin Johnston going, we saw how he looked in college. I know he kind of got the yips in the NFL, but we saw
yeah.
how he looked at TCU. Him and McConkey with Keenan Allen running his famous drag routes and things like that. That offense could get pretty dangerous pretty fast if they can make sure he's shared up.
Yeah. So I think I'm going Chargers. We're both going Chargers, so it should be decent. It should be a fun game. We're excited for that. And we're gonna go one more. It's a very interesting game matchup you don't see every couple days or every couple years. Lions and the Ravens. This should be a very good game. Who do you got, Mark, and why?
It's This is a tough one for me because I mean, you kind of have the tale of two teams on both sides of the coin, right? The Ravens the first week played extremely well against Buffalo, kind of gave the game away, and then they didn't really play that great against the Browns until late. Obviously, they pulled away, and the scoreboard was what the scoreboard was. But I don't think the scoreboard really tells the whole story of how bad the Ravens actually played offensively. So you have that, and then the Lions kind of did the same thing. They played extremely bad against the Packers in Week 1, and then they just lit the Bears on fire in Week 2. So it's kind of the tale of which teams are you going to get. Um, I I honestly think I'm going to go with the Ravens. The Ravens are the more
Yeah,
complete team, especially
I
defensively. They have a better defense than what the Lions do. The Lions are still, I think personally, they're still going to be up and down for a few more weeks. And I think you get a down week this week with an explosive offense that can beat you in the run and the pass, especially when Lamar is on and you're playing a good defense while the Lions are still kind of feeling out their two new coordinators. And let's be honest, they just played a really high emotion game against the Bears, and against their former OC that they never thought would be in their division. So that's part of the ass whooping that they gave the Bears. So the next week is a come down week, and it's not easy to have a come down week against a team like the Ravens in a defense that flies to the football and is good on every single level. I think the Ravens win this one, and honestly, I think they win it pretty soundly.
Yeah, I think I agree. And Detroit, they bounced back against Chicago, who wasn't kind of not their defense is still kind of in a work in progress. And then you go to when they face the Packers defense, who pretty much they got torched. So I mean, Ravens have a good defense. They're going to torch you. They're going to make you make mistakes without even thinking about it. So I'm going to go Ravens. I think the Ravens win. I think they win maybe by a couple scores. I mean, it could unless the Ravens kind of falter like you said, Mark, against the Bills. I think the Ravens win comfortably, and I think it'll be a good game. I think, but I think in the end, Ravens will pull away, and it might come down to a flat. Who knows? Could come down to last second field goal for all we know. But I think the Ravens win a very high. Could be a defensive game, but at the same time, could be a high scoring game, depending on what type of teams show up. Monday Night Football for next week, the 22nd. So we'll be watching while we're recording, and
Of
kind of give
course.
up updates, reaction to that. So well, another quick reminder. We have some couple reminders to give you. As in 2 weeks, we have our next special guest, our guy Steve. He's going to come on. He's going to talk some NFL ball with us, a little bit of college football with us, and he's going to talk some UFC. We have UFC in 2 weeks coming up, so he's going to help us preview that and give us some more educated, more knowledge than what we give you guys on a week to week basis. So we're excited for him to come on. As Mark agrees, he cannot deny that. So as Mark does as
Yeah.
yeah, as so we're excited for Steve. He's our second guest. We're excited for him to come on and talk. He's probably going to be hopefully a regular, just like Dennis will be throughout the year, throughout the months to come as we get into the UFC season. As we don't know, we're gonna go pay per view by pay per view to see if we're gonna bring him on each week or each pay per view or every other. So stay tuned for that. As also, folks, well, big news: we are moving platforms for one night only. On Wednesday, October 8th, we're taking our live show to TikTok. We want to interact with you guys. We hope that you will come on, interact, have a real live audience, and just give us some comments and just kind of keep the chat moving. Give us your takes on what you on the weekend that was. in football and anything else that kind of pops up between now and then. It will be on Mark's TikTok page because there's been stuff going on with my TikTok page. It was TikTok's being goofy, so I have to kind of restart TikTok a little bit. So as you can see, Mark's on the screen right there. It'll be on his page. I will be in the box with them. We tested it out on Sunday, so we're good there. But yeah, we want to hear from you. We want anything you found interesting over the weekend of football. We asked that TikTok kind of filters comments, so please, 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 just keep the comments filtered. Keep it kind of professional. Let us do our thing, and we'll love to interact with you. We know sometimes you guys like to get carried away, some people, but we will have fun. We'll have fun. We'll joke, but at the same time, we're here to do our thing. You guys, hang out, give us your takes, comment, how you guys react to what we're saying and all that. And if you talk about your favorite team, if we talk about your favorite team, we'll be happy to talk about your favorite team that week if it gets brought up, and we're gonna have some fun. So again,
Yeah,
October 8th at 9 p.m. live on TikTok. We will be there unless something comes up where we have to go to recording, but we will be there October 8th. That's actually our 10th show, so it's kind of why we want to do this, kind of get more people over, kind of get us out there a little bit, and kind of just hang out with you guys for a day, and not just what ourselves for once. So we're very excited for
yeah,
that.
and kind of based off of what Kyle said there, obviously we want to hear from you guys. We'll bring a couple topics in our normal stuff, but a big part of it is what we want is we want to be able to interact with you guys and kind of see where you guys are at, what you guys want to talk about, and things like that as it is going on. Obviously, you guys leave your lovely comments on YouTube and things like that, but we really just want to hear from you, hear what you guys want to hear, what you want to talk about, and obviously there is always breaking news and things like that as well. So we encourage you guys to jump on in that live for our Big Ten show. It's coming up fast. It's approaching fast, and we never obviously thought that we would even get to 10 shows. But at the same time, we're looking for your guys' help because we want to make sure that the show is entertaining and it's something that you guys enjoy as well. So we again encourage you guys to come in and bring some topics for us as well because we'll have our little baseline stuff, but we want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, and we're very excited as we will. And if you cannot make it to TikTok, we will post. We're gonna get it recorded so we can post it if everything goes well to YouTube that night or Thursday morning, so you have it for the week if you miss it. And then we do have a TikTok page. We just made a TikTok page. You see it pop up on the top of your screen right there. That's where if we do go to TikTok to do our second show that we hopefully plan on doing in the future, we need 100 followers so we could start building that up. So it's public. So go ahead, give that page a like, share it with your friends, so we could get that going. And that's what, like I said, that's probably where we'll do our shows once we eventually maybe do a second show on YouTube or on TikTok, because we're gonna start doing a normal YouTube here, and then TikTok's gonna be more the national stuff. We're gonna pick games and talk, a little more, give us more news to talk about instead of trying to cram everything in an hour and a half, hour and a half. So we're working through it, but yeah. So please, we thank you for your support. If you made it this far without us boring you, we thank you for listening each and every single week, especially tonight. It was a good show tonight. I know there was some frustration being let out. So as we're watching the Chargers and Raiders play the second game Monday night, but I think we had a good therapy session here today, Mark.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely therapeutic. We got some things off our chest about um our respective teams and our depressing Browns, but
Yeah.
I hope you guys didn't mind it too much. You guys probably, if you're Browns fans, had similar takes. And we want to hear from you in the comments what you felt about the Browns this weekend and moving forward. Let me know. Let me know in the comments as well. I know I asked Kyle. Let me know if it's time to tank or not in here in Cleveland. And I'll see if I can find a fish tank or something to bring on the show the next time because in my personal opinion, I think it's time to tank.
Uh, oh man. Well, it's been a blast as always, y'all. Thanks for watching. We cannot wait for episode 8 and all the exciting things hopefully coming up as we keep getting this going. So don't forget, like, subscribe, share. We will talk to you guys next week on the final one. So I'm Kyle. He's Mark. Until we meet again, have a good one.